Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Laura and I'm a nutritionist and personal trainer, and today we are talking all things body recomp because I've been getting a lot of questions lately. So I shared my 18-month transformation where I've gone from this to this, and I've done it all whilst eating at maintenance. And honestly, I can say, as somebody that has done bikini competitions, preps, I've been in fitness since, 20 years now. And my whole life, I've been trying to change my body, probably. But this block that I have done of recomp has been possibly my favorite thing I've ever done, because it's come from a place of just pure enjoyment. Like, I have never had so much fun achieving a body transformation. So I really wanted to share in this video what I started doing 18 months ago that's led me to get to this place, in case anybody wants to embark on a similar journey themselves. So before I really dive into the last 18 months, what I've done and the kind of step-by-step of that, I want to kind of preface this by saying, prior to the last 18 months, there was a whole chapter of about 2 years where I had no real goal other than making peace with myself. I'd always been somebody that had tracked macros, calorie counted, worked in fitness. I had an eating disorder when I was younger, and my whole life kind of revolved around food and nutrition and what I was eating. So I did go on a bit of a, to phrase it, intuitive eating journey. But I spent 2 years not overly focused on how I looked, learning how to use movement in a way that felt good, and learning how to fuel my body properly without tracking. And really, that allowed me to really get in touch with my body's hunger and fullness signals. Hormonally, I was in a much better place. So I feel it's really important to say that I didn't just dive straight into this. I was burnt out and I needed to restore myself first. So I will say, if you are somebody that is just exhausted with the whole on-off dieting thing, or maybe you're having episodes of binging, hey Louie, or you've lost your love for the gym, like, this might help bring you back. But the thing that you might actually need is a period of time where you take the pressure off yourself and you do the deeper work. But I won't go too much into that in this video. That could be a whole nother video of itself. So let's go to 18 months ago when I started this thing. I was training regularly, I was consistent, but if I'm honest, I was doing the bare minimum. Like, I'd gotten to this happy, peaceful place, but I was like kind of missing having a real focus. So I decided, right, Laura, you're going to stop just showing up to the gym and doing the bare minimum. Like, you're actually going to start taking yourself a bit more seriously now. So for the last 18 months, I would say that the biggest piece in causing this body recomposition is that I always kind of put food as the main priority subconsciously. I think I always sort of really dialed in on my nutrition, but I never really put that level of push. Like, I found it easier to starve myself than I did to go to the gym and train hard, which sounds bonkers now I say it out loud. But I was like, right, you're going to put that level of meticulousness into the gym. So obviously, being a coach myself, I knew I had to write programs. So for a year of that, I followed a training split that looked like push, pull, legs, a run, and a mobility session per week. And I think within that split, there are two things that really made a difference for me. The first one was dropping back to training legs only once per week, which I know goes against what a lot of the research says, right? And you think, oh, well, if I want a muscle part to grow, I need to hit it more frequently. But I'll be honest, I am a woman that doesn't love training glutes. Like, I am all about upper body, I'm all about shoulders, and if I could skip leg day, like, if I was a dude, I would look like Johnny Bravo. Like, if I could skip leg day, I would. So I made kind of a compromise myself where I was like, right, you're going to train legs once per week, Laura, but you're going to train them really flipping hard. You're going to stop only doing the movements you like doing and you're good at, and you're going to do the movements that you don't like, you're not very good at, and you don't like them because they knock your ego when you're in the gym. They make you feel like a beginner again. I started incorporating a lot more of those movements. And I did find by training legs once per week, actually, I started to enjoy it more. I started to get the buzz of seeing my strength go up. I only had to deal with walking like John Wayne for like one day of the week, and my legs recovered better. So every time I went into the session, like I was able to give more. And I definitely have seen lower body growth from doing that. And I do wonder, is there something in the psychology of that, of thinking I had to train twice per week? Was I actually subconsciously going a bit half-assed in one of the sessions? The other big difference was when I started running. So I am absolutely not a runner. Like I used to joke, I only run from my problems. But very recently, I have started road running outside. I've always been a treadmill runner, and I've actually just set myself a goal to run a 10K. I think the last time I ran a 10K without stopping was about 10 years ago. And that didn't happen overnight. Genuinely, when I first started running these 5Ks on the treadmill, I could not run 5K without stopping. I had to walk a bit, run a bit, walk a bit, run a bit. But I think the big difference was that I switched the way I was viewing cardio. So cardio for me had always been something just help me clock up a calorie deficit, to help me burn off food if I've overeaten. And suddenly cardio became something where I was like, right, I'm going to start looking at my heart rate. I'm going to start looking at my pace. And it sounds bonkers because I've programmed all this stuff. Like I've programmed clients with running programs for years. It's just not something that ever interested me personally because I was so bloody wrapped up in aesthetics. Not only did I have this focus when I went in the gym of like, right, what did you lift last week? Can you go a bit heavier today? I also coupled that with, right, can you run a bit faster today? Right, what's the plan with the running today? What tempo are you going for? What time are you aiming for? Can you add an extra minute on of running without stopping? Whatever it was. But suddenly that started to have a focus as well. So a lot of it has been that flip in my mentality and actually just realizing you were really half-assing things for a long time before that. And even though I'm not new to training, I think I've seen such a response in my body. I think I'm seeing some newbie gains, which is bonkers. I've been training 20 years, but the way in which I'm training now is I'm taking it very seriously. And it's weird, the more seriously I take it, the more fun it actually becomes, the more I leave that gym with that endorphin boost. The other biggie for me has been the mobility session. So I've been spending a lot of time getting to grips with, and this is probably, you know, encouraged by the fact that my partner is a physio. And so you start to become aware of how poor posture can start to impact things. I hear about his day, I hear about the injuries people have got, the niggles people have got. And I think it really inspired me to turn 40 next year with a body that moves well. But also I realized, like, you are 40 next year. You can't keep battering yourself. If you want your body to perform, you have to take steps for recovery. So the other big thing I've paid a lot more attention to in my training is making sure I am doing things like mobility work, some stretching, having saunas to recover, using a foam roller, which I'll be honest are things that I neglected a bit before. Like I would be that person, I'll go in the gym, barely warm up properly, do my thing, try and get it over with as quick as possible and leave again. And it doesn't have to take loads and loads of time either. By just sprinkling in one or two things into a training session can really make a big difference to how your body feels going into that lift. And I think that's really helped me to drive up strength as well. And that's going to become even more important now I've ramped up the running goal, because I'm going to start covering longer distances. I'm going to start running more than once per week now. And so in order to be able to keep doing that and train legs well and not get too sore, the recovery and mobility stuff, it is boring at first. But actually, you can start to challenge yourself. Like I started videoing it to see how flexible I was, and has that flexibility improved? And am I able to sit a bit deeper into that stretch this week? And actually, do I feel more control? And I've become super aware of my postural imbalances by filming myself doing mobility work. And I always tell clients, like, film your training, we're going to look at that. But actually, I think as a result of my own experience with that, I'm more interested now in seeing their mobility work, because that tells me way more about how their body moves, so I can program their training better. The other massive shift that I've made is I have ditched my fear of getting fat. Which sounds really pathetic when I say it out loud, but you have to bear in mind I developed an eating disorder at the age of 14. And that really stemmed from, like, the whole root of my eating disorder was a fear of getting fat. At that age, I think 14 is such an important time when so many of your self-belief system thoughts are formed. And I had lost a lot of weight through unhealthy means because a boy picked on me at school. It's pathetic when I say it out loud. But because a boy had picked on me at school, and then I lost all this weight, and suddenly, you know, the boys started fancying me. I started to be able to wear the same clothes as my friends. So I think there was something really deep rooted in me with this fear of I might go back to being overweight. And I think competing in bikini and building a fitness platform and all of that stuff actually just fed into that and exacerbated it. And I can genuinely say now, for the first time in my life, like, even though I've been saying stuff out loud for years, I think there is such a difference between you being able to say something and your brain rationally understanding that concept and you truly embodying that as your reality, like your subconscious belief system. And so I think my mentality very much before was like, I need to do steps or exercise or train to burn my food off or to earn my food. Whereas now I would describe the mentality that I have approached all of this with you need to eat well today so you can train even better tomorrow. And I'm finding myself catching myself in the evening going, you better have a bowl of cereal, Laura, because you've got to run in the morning. So if there is one key part of this transformation, it's focus less on the fat loss and trying to control your body and trying to micromanage your body fat levels and change all of that stuff, and instead put all of your focus on that gym session is the most important part of your day. That run is your most important part of your day, not in a pressured way, but if you go into it well fed, it's like a whole different experience. And I always wondered how girls could do a couple of runs a week and train legs, and the secret is eating. But I think it's really important to caveat that with saying quality nutrition as well, but that doesn't mean it has to be all chicken and broccoli and high protein cottage cheese recipe. Not at all. I eat well, I eat enough protein, I eat enough fiber, I eat fruits and vegetables, but I also eat cereal, cake, chocolate, crisps. Like, I consider the way I eat to be pretty normal and I enjoy it. But I think that's another big shift, is that not being afraid to eat, even if it's in a slight surplus for that day, knowing you've got to train better tomorrow. And that was really, really key for me because I train so early in the mornings and I don't like to eat before I go to the gym because I go so early. I don't really like food in my stomach. So what I eat before bed has become really important. The other thing I will say has really helped me out with regards to food is in that period of 2 years that I spent not tracking, I developed a really solid food routine. And I think this is really key. I'm a 3 meals a day kind of girl, but I'm really quite not meticulous to the point of making sure I eat all my food by a certain time, but I do make sure I eat 3 meals a day. There is a clear breakfast, lunch and dinner. You guys will know if you see my other videos, like I always say I've been eating the same breakfast for the last 2 years now, and there's a massive reason for that. Like, I might mix up, it's an overnight oats, I might mix up the fruit in it, I might mix up the nut butter that goes on it, I might mix up the flavors, but it's such a core part of my routine. I just come back to that every time. Lunches always look relatively similar. They might look different on different days of the week. Like, for example, every Friday I go and get my lunch at Starbucks when I take the dog for a pup cup. Every Saturday night I get a takeaway. But there is actually some routine and consistency to what I'm doing, and I think that has really, really helped as well, because when we talk about training and fueling and performing well, that can't be done without food and fuel. And I think having this regular eating pattern has stopped me swinging from overeating some days, undereating other days, because I was somebody that would very much overdo it at the weekend, even if it wasn't like a full binge or anything like that. You know, I would be someone that Saturday night might be a Domino's pizza and then a bag of sweets, and then the Sunday might be I end up eating out, and then I'd go into Monday morning feeling like, well, you better go lower on your carbs today because you've overeaten all weekend. Whereas that doesn't really happen now. Like, my food choices definitely look more flexible over a weekend, but Monday I still fuel. I still do my same thing. And I think over time that has helped to even out my eating pattern, but it also means that my calories are going where I need them. And, you know, I'm somebody that talks a lot about eating enough. I think it's really important to recognize you eat enough food around training. And that's how I kind of view myself right now. Like, I wouldn't say I view myself like an athlete because, you know, I go to the gym, I lift some weights, I do some mobility work, I do a bit of running. I'm far from an athlete. But in my mentality, I'm like, when athletes turn up to go and perform in their sport or whatever it is, they're not going, oh, well, I better have a salad today because I overate at the weekend. No, they're fueling themselves for the training they're about to do. And I've tried to adopt that same mantra. And when it comes to food, something that I have done that might surprise you because it goes against what every other fitness person on this planet tells you, I've reduced my protein intake. And I think that has really, really helped. And don't misunderstand that. Like, I'm somebody that was eating excessive amounts of protein, you know, so I was eating more like 160 grams per day. And some days I still do that now, but that was like always, regardless of what calories I was on. My protein intake now is still high. It still keeps me in a range that's optimal for muscle mass building and retention, but it's more like 120 grams per day. And if I'm honest, some days at the weekend, it probably goes down to 100 grams per day just because I like to eat out and the things I like to eat out contain less protein. And I think that's been really helpful for two reasons. The first one is kept me way more consistent and stopped me overeating, because I would be getting in so many calories from protein because, you know, I had this higher target to hit. So I'd be so worried about hitting my protein target, but then I'd have all the cravings for the other foods like carbs. So then I'd be eating all the calories from protein and then I'd be eating all of the other calories from the things I craved. Whereas now, some days, like on the weekend, I might just go, I fancy a pizza for dinner tonight. I wondered what that was then. Hey, I thought it had a little bug on my shoulder. Whereas I might go, oh, I fancy a pizza. I just eat the pizza because I've eaten the thing that I fancy. And then I go, right, well, you'll just get protein in at your next meal. So I think that's been really, really helpful, actually. And I think my body was actually crying out for more carbs and more fats. Speaking of carbs, that is a big one. My carbohydrate intake, and especially now I've gone back to tracking, has been a lot higher than I've ever thought it would be. Like, carbs used to make me really bloated. And I think that whole period of time where I was fixing my relationship with food, not overeating, not undereating, that's really improved my digestion also tenfold. Like, I used to think I was lactose intolerant. I drink milk every single day now with no issues, which is why I have a problem with a lot of these influencers selling you these gut health healing protocols. They probably were just heavily restricted, like me, overtrained, overworked for too long, and now they look after themselves properly, and that's what's fixed their gut, not the magic turmeric they're selling you or whatever the ginger shot is in the morning. But yeah, carbohydrate intake is a lot higher, and a lot of days now I'm at 300 grams of carbs a day. I don't want to mislead anyone with this, because I know that I used to find it incredibly frustrating, and I used to get really jealous of all these girls with these high carb intakes, and I used to think, oh my god, if I ate like that I'd get really fat. The secret was I wasn't training hard enough to need that amount of carbohydrates. So if you are somebody that works in an office, you do a token free 4 training sessions per week, you don't really do any cardio, you don't do anything that needs any endurance, you might not need a high amount of carbohydrates. But it's a little bit chicken and egg, because I found once I started to put my carbohydrate intake up more, like at first it did make me feel a bit bloated, bit sluggish, bit unsure. Oh my god, is this more food than I need to be eating? I found that it took a period of time of a few months, probably about 3 months, and then it was like something just changed. I started noticing like my training had really got to a point where it was starting to improve. My running had really got to a point where it was starting to improve. And then I could just tell that my body was really making use of these carbohydrates. You don't want to just suddenly slam your carbs up overnight. Like, do it gradually, but also don't underestimate how much you might be under eating carbohydrate now. But I think that key thing is performance. Like, you know, we all look at those what I eat in a days and we go, how do I look like that eating 300 grams of carbs? What you really want to be looking at is, how do I need to train if I want to eat that amount of carbs? That is the secret there. The other thing that I have done, and it makes me feel really unfun to tell you guys this, is I've cut my alcohol consumption right back, particularly in the last 6 months, I'd say. And that's not a deliberate thing. Like, I still love a drink, like rosé, Aperol spritz and gin and tonic, especially in the sunshine. I will always love, oh, and a fruity cider. I'm Bristolian, we love a cider. But I've kind of got, I'll be honest, it wasn't even a conscious decision like, oh, I'm going to give up drinking. It was more that I got so into my training. I like getting up and going for a run on a Saturday morning now, or maybe sometimes on a Sunday. If my legs feel good, I might go, I'm gonna do my heavy leg session today. And having a few drinks is still something I do occasionally, but I just feel like it gets in the way of that. And I think that's one of the reasons why things have just accelerated as well, is because, you know, I'm just looking after myself properly. And I'm not on this video to bash alcohol, to tell you not to drink it, but if you're drinking heavily all weekend, it is going to be harder to recomp your body. I'm not going to bullshit anyone about that. The other thing that I would really recommend if you're trying to recomp your body is changing the lens in which you view tracking your food. Like, you don't have to track your food. I've done a big portion of this without tracking my food, but now I've got to the point where it's like, okay, you're really taking this seriously now, and tracking to make sure you eat enough is actually way more fun. And it really has highlighted to me actually some days, for the level of training I'm now trying to do, if I wasn't tracking right now, I would be under eating and I wouldn't be able to keep performing and keep seeing these changes. But I think in the first instance, changing the way you track your food. So number one, not seeing it as like a 24-hour calorie target that you have to hit where it expires. I think especially when we talk about maintenance, people get that so wrong. It's like they're hitting their maintenance calories with a diet mentality. So they're still being super meticulous about the weighing. They're still berating themselves for going a bit over. Like, if you really want to be honest about your calorie intake, just track everything. Don't only track when you're trying to hit a certain number. Like, observational tracking can be way more useful in a maintenance phase than trying to, you know, keep to these maintenance calories, but then you go over them and then tracking feels like a ball ache, so then you give up. Like, just tell yourself, throughout this phase, I'm going to really focus on my training. I'm going to observationally track. So what I mean by observationally track as well, in case that's not clear, is you're not doing the gold standard of pre-planning all your food in advance, although some food planning can be helpful, but you're more actually just going, right, what have I just eaten? Right, let's whack that in. That's going to give me a ballpark. You know, if I'm eating out, instead of ghosting MyFitnessPal, because that's difficult to track, I'm just going to give it my best guesstimate. That's going to give you so much information about how you actually eat, not just how you eat when you're following a plan. And that's really, really key data that you can learn from. But then once you've got that information, instead of just worrying about your calorie intake, I would actually encourage you to use tracking to look at your nutrient quality. So like, number one, is protein there? And where is my protein coming from? Is it coming from whole sources? Am I eating majority whole food? Or am I eating loads of salty, sugary, processed foods? Am I actually eating 5 portions of fruit and veg a day? Do I aim to get fruit and veg in at each meal? Where's my fiber intake sitting? That's the kind of stuff that I was really looking at with my food, not just how many calories have I eaten. It's actually going, right, when it comes to my actual meals, how many of these are actually nutritious? Like, you're saying you want to fuel like an athlete, you want to train well, you want this body, but are you eating like somebody that wants this? And then, you know, I still have the fun stuff, but I save the, you know, the white carbs, the sugary stuff, the sweets, the Percy pigs, which are my absolute favorite, for, right, you need to top up some carbs because you've got a big run tomorrow, or you need to top up some carbs because you trained legs heavy today. We need to replenish that glycogen. I think if you could start to change the way you view tracking and stop just looking at how many calories have I eaten today, how much protein have I eaten today, and actually look in your food diary. I do this is what I do with clients. We look in the food diary, like, how good is the quality of your diet as a whole? Does it need some work? So the last thing that I did, and this might sound like a bit of a weird one, I found fitness content creators that actually inspired me and made me feel better. Being on a food relationship journey myself when I was going through that phase of healing. I think algorithms like can be so exhausting now, because you start to look at one thing and then your whole entire feed starts to become that thing, and it can start to skew your narrative. So my feed was full of a lot of anti-diet messaging, a lot of fix your relationship with food, a lot of food relationship coaches, and that was great because at the time I absorbed that content was when I needed it. But if you're watching this video, I want you to know it's all right to outgrow something. Like if you have done the work, if you have fixed your relationship with food, you might not just need it anymore. It's okay if something has helped you. It's done its thing now. Maybe that's time to leave that. It's okay to be so healed you don't need that, and then maybe it annoys you a little bit now. When I first outgrew bodybuilding, I muted every bodybuilder in my feed. If I see them now, I don't look at them because it doesn't inspire me. That's an old version of me. And the kind of women that I follow now, they're the ones getting really strong. I'm following running content. I'm following mobility work. I'm following a lot of physios, like things that actually interest me, excite me, and make me think, I want to go in the gym and try that. And I think that's probably one of the reasons I came back to YouTube, because I thought I want to be that place where this stuff is fun. Because honestly, the last 18 months, I have had the best time. I've been the most motivated I've probably ever been in the gym. And it's because I've had the most fun doing it. So my final tip, if you want to recomp your body, is yes, obviously we need to be serious about training and nutrition, and there are things that we need to track, but it doesn't have to be the slog that you think it does. I think if you're patient and you give yourself time and you start to view this as, this is going to be the rest of my life doing fitness. You know, you might have phases where you train more or less, but you have got the whole rest of your life. And if you do this right, your body's just going to keep improving. You're going to age well. You're going to keep feeling better. But I think at the core of that is enjoyment. And that doesn't mean you enjoy every session. I don't enjoy every run I do as I'm doing it, but I always feel good when I come back. In fact, my little phrase to myself is never trust how you feel on your way to a workout. Trust how you feel afterwards. Like if you come out the workout and you feel wiped and dead, and that probably means you were a bit tired and you need to rest. But 9 times out of 10, you come out of a workout feeling good. Anyway, all a bit of a ramble, but I thought I would just get those thoughts out because I really, really want this platform to be a place where you can get your mojo back and you can get your best, fittest, happiest, healthiest body and flip and enjoy doing it. Anyway, if that sounds like something you want to be a part of, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like one so I know to keep making content like it. And I'll catch you all in the next video.